This is a great week to be a Catholic, isn't it? Holy Week has so many different signs and symbols that just, they just wash over us. You can even have sweet dreams of all the signs and symbols of Holy Week, starting with the palm branches and the reading of the Passion from last Sunday, to the tonight, the incense. Could you tell there's a sale on incense? So we stocked up so we could use a lot of it. The images just are so powerful. The church teaches through images because long before any form of media existed, newspapers, internet, anything like that, even before the invention of the printing press, the church used symbols to teach people. The triangle, the dove, the butterfly, all kinds of different things. So symbols really have power to teach us. And there are many symbols tonight. I picked two. My symbols of choice tonight would be bread and feet. And really, they're quite opposite. Bread, first of all. There's so many different kinds of bread nowadays. There's pumpernickel and rye bread, and there's Irish soda bread, and then there's caraway bread, and there's there must be dozens, if not hundreds, of different kinds of bread. When I was a kid, we only had one bread. That's all that was really available. There was either Wonder Bread or rye bread. That's all I can possibly remember there being in the store. So I grew up never liking bread because all we had was Wonder Bread day after day after day. It wasn't until I was in my 30s and I was at a parishioner's home. We had a dinner club of parishioners, and somebody had brought bread from, it was either Panera or Breadsmith or one of those places. And I tasted this bread and I thought, oh wow, what is this? What bread tastes like? This is the best bread I've ever had in the world. It was just wonderful. Poor people eat bread, cheap bread. Rich people eat bread, expensive bread. But nevertheless, we have it, this wonderful bread. And tonight we celebrate that the best bread in the world is Christ, the living bread, who comes to us in the sacrament of the Holy Eucharist. Not only bread, but wine, the great sacrament that Jesus gave us. As you heard in the second reading from St. Paul, on the night before he died, he gave us the bread and the cup, pronouncing that this was his very body and this was his very blood. So we know in faith that the bread and wine that you and I receive at Mass tonight is the very same bread and wine that Jesus had at the Last Supper. The very same gift. And he was already looking forward to tomorrow when he said, this is my bread, this is my body, which will be, future tense, given up for you. This is the cup of my blood that will be shed for you. So tonight, every Mass is already a participation in the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross. His body broken on the cross and his blood shed for all of us. So when you have some delicious bread, always think of Jesus and always treasure Christ, the bread of life. We Catholics are so lucky in Wisconsin, especially and anywhere in the United States, that we have priests who can give us the Mass. Not every country has that. In South America, there are many countries where they have Sunday Mass once every 3 months. I know that's true in Peru and many different countries because of lack of priests. So pray for priests from among the young men of our parish, of our whole country, that will always have the Eucharist that Jesus gave us tonight, the night before he died. And feet. Well, that's not so pleasant a topic. If you start talking about your feet at the dinner table, you'll probably be asked to leave. Because feet, I know some can be pretty, but I think a lot of times feet can be ugly. And you know why? Because feet have calluses and corns and blisters and toenail fungus and oh my gosh, all kinds of different things. And feet sweat and feet smell because feet take on all the burdens of the day. And when you're working hard, when your feet hurt, your whole body hurts. And when your feet feel good, suppose you're swimming, or you just have your feet in the pool, your whole body begins to feel good because your feet feel good. So feet is very much similar to your soul, that feet get calloused and worn out from the day's work, just like our souls can get worn out. And feet have calluses just as we have sins, but yet feet are renewed. After a good night's sleep, our feet are renewed. And so isn't it interesting then that Jesus would choose in John's gospel, there's no Eucharist, but there is the washing of the feet. because Jesus was giving a command. And it had nothing to do with 12 apostles, but it had everything to do with service. So a hallmark of our church is that we are a Eucharistic church. But a hallmark of our church is that we are a church of outreach and service. And that was the message of the washing of the feet. Jesus said so. He said, as I have washed your feet, so you must do for others. In other words, to love and serve our neighbor. That's why Catholics are known for all the collections that we have. Not just money, but we collect diapers, and we collect toiletry items, and we collect coats, and we collect all kinds of different things, because we're a church of service. To serve the needy and the poor, outreach is an important part of being a Catholic ever since Jesus washed the feet of his disciples. So now tonight we have the washing of the feet. And unfortunately, if you're sitting at a place where there's a towel, you better flee, because we're washing your feet. And if there's an empty place and you want to have your feet washed, just get up and walk over to where there's a towel and we'll wash your feet. This is an example that the church must be a church of service, serving the world. How does our parish serve the world? Afar and nearby. That's the message of the Lord's Supper, that a church of loving service for one another. So all the images that we have tonight, this first Mass of the Triduum, is Christ the bread of life. But Christ looks on our lowly human feet, and he raises them up, and he touches them, and he washes them, just as he washes all of us clean in the great miracle of baptism. I wonder if Jesus was thinking of baptism when he washes the feet of his disciples. We're made new in the mystery, the miracle of Christ.